We have made it to Little Friday, the optimist way of talking about Thursday. We're glad you guys joined us as usual. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Really happy to have you. Guys, we got a lot of college football, some NFL to get into. I got to get off my lawn today as well. But, David, there's a fight going on tomorrow on Netflix between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly. Now, I am rooting for Mike Tyson.
Sure.
But I think there's a legitimate question to be asked. How old is too old to box a person in their prime, like Jake Paul? Like, when does elder abuse kick in? Regardless if it's Mike Tyson or Oscar De La Hoya or whatever, even if you were a boxer in the past. But at what point are you too old, regardless of how good you think you can do? And I think Tyson's got a shot.
Yeah.
But what level? Because how old? Can we look up how old exactly Mike Tyson is? I think that's a good question.
And remember, this fight got postponed over the summertime.
Yeah, and it's the first one ever on Netflix.
He's 58.
Right? Yep. He's 50. So Jake, this is, I mean, we already let men beat up on women in sports. Now we're letting them fight 60 more.
I'll let Blaine get into how this is really a lose-lose for Tyson, because I think we agree on that, and you made a good point earlier, but we'll just set the rules of the fight here quickly. So they're going to fight with 14-ounce gloves rather than the standard 10-ounce gloves. Remember there was some speculation earlier in the year, this is staged, the whole fight is scripted. Like, there's no evidence of that, but they're going to fight with 14-ounce gloves, and the fight will take place across 8 2-minute rounds rather than the usual 12 3-minute rounds.
Okay. 8 2 in a row. What do you think?
Well, man, one, if you're Mike Tyson, you're the greatest boxer of all time. Why are you doing this?
Why
are you doing? Mike Tyson needs money?
I don't know.
Got Hangover 5.
Didn't he have a lion at his house? Like, you need money at this point? And another thing, Jake Paul's been running from the smoke for 2.5 years. 2.5 years. I don't know what I have to do. I don't want any money.
Well, if I respect Jake Paul as a businessman. Right? And he's a better boxer than I am. I mean, he's better at boxing than I am. But, like, how do you think you can be, like, regarded as a great boxer if you really just beat up on a lot of guys that are UFC fighters and old people?
Like, didn't Jake Paul lose his last boxing match?
To be honest with you, that's one of the sports I just really don't. I'd rather watch UFC.
I think that's what makes it interesting. I mean, obviously, like, prime Tyson against Jake Paul, no one's talking about it, right?
Prime Tyson would kill Jake Paul.
Because of the age, it creates this scenario where if you beat him, you can always say you beat Mike Tyson. Yes, of course, the next caveat is, he was 56 years old or 58 years old, but you beat Mike Tyson. If you lose to him, though, then you can say, well, I would box Mike Tyson and I lost. How will it be remembered if he wins or loses?
Well, I think you fought an old Mike Tyson. Like, didn't they make a movie where old Sylvester Stallone fought old Robert De Niro? This is like that movie, but one of them's not old. Like, if I went up and beat up a 58-year-old, I would not feel good about it.
I don't care what your name is.
Yeah,
he lost his life. Like, I thought this would go away when you lost your last fight.
Who did he lose it to?
Tommy Fury?
Oh, a boxer.
A boxer.
An actual boxer. And you lost. You didn't fight an 11-year-old or a woman or a 58-year-old or a UFC fighter, right? That's like, to me, beating up a UFC fighter, that's like challenging to somebody who drives monster trucks to a NASCAR race and beating them. Like, whoa.
It's just going to be painful to me if he goes in there and works Tyson. What if he goes in there and works him for 6 or 7 rounds?
What if we get a glimpse, just an early, just kind of refresher glimpse? Because if you get a chance, go look at Mike Tyson's highlights. If you're maybe younger and didn't see him box, this man was a threat to society.
Well, don't you think that's what it'll take? I mean, don't you think for Tyson to win this, he needs to get after him in the first or second round? Like, knock out.
He's going to have to shoot his wad early.
Tell me what's a round.
8 2-minute rounds. Okay, traditional boxing is now 12 3-minute rounds. Used to be 15 rounds. Now it's 12 rounds, 3 minutes. This one's going to be 8 rounds, 2 minutes each. If this thing goes 8 rounds, that's not so good for Tyson.
No, the longer it goes, the less likely he is to win because he's almost damn near 60 years old. So we want to know in the chat, are you going to watch this on Netflix? If you have a Netflix account, are you going to watch it? But speaking about watching, allegedly Michigan offers $10.5 million to a high school quarterback to come there. We're going to give you our locks, leans, and dogs for the weekend. Let's all make some more money together. And Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos walks away from the team for a couple days after being benched. I'm Jake Crain, and it's the thirstiest of Thursdays here at Crain & Company. So let me parch that thirst for you. I think NIL can be a really great thing. Players should get paid for their name, image, and likeness, just like we get paid for our name, image, and likeness. We also live in a capitalistic society. But that doesn't mean I can't call it out when it seems to have gone too far, or the nature in which it's carried out seems flawed. And that's exactly what I think when I hear that Michigan has allegedly offered high school quarterback Bryce Underwood $10.5 million over 4 years. Now, why do I think it's flawed? Because Michigan shouldn't be offering it. Individual companies should be offering it. See, to me, in a perfect NIL world, it would consist of a company reaching out to the player or his reps to strike a deal. There should be no middleman. But now there is. It's truly pay for play. And now the market, if this comes true, has absolutely ballooned, a la Deshaun Watson. To put this in perspective, this amount of money is akin to being at the end of the first round or in the early second round of the NFL draft. Now, I don't have a problem with the concept of NIL at all, but I have a problem with the execution. At this point, kind of is what it is. My second biggest problem is I don't know how you turn down that type of money if it isn't matched by another school. I know what I would do. Also, why would a player ever go to class now? If you're going to drop that type of bag to me, you're not going to make me academically ineligible. College football is peak entertainment right now, and it's hotter than it's ever been. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still things that need to be fixed. And creating a middleman in what should be a two-party transaction should be fixed. So congrats to Bryce Underwood if this holds up. Not saying he's going to Michigan, but it's a great opportunity. It's not his fault at all. But we have totally jumped the shark when it comes to the execution of name, image, and likeness in college athletics. David Cone, former Michigan quarterback. Don't know if he threw a few shekels into the pot. We'll find out soon. My brother, Blaine Crain, who would do probably anything for $10.5 million. Is there anything you wouldn't do for $10.5 million? That you can say on here?
No. That I can say on here? No. I can't. I can't.
David, and again, obviously, you played at Michigan, but you do a great job of just like us with being fans of Auburn, giving a realistic view of what's going on at certain places. Do you agree with me that the execution of NIL has just gone so far away from what we thought it was going to be when it was coming out, and that it was a two-party transaction? Now and we have friends that are in collectives that do it, and I wish them nothing but success. That doesn't mean I have to like the premise and the architecture of it. Just kind of where are you at right now with this?
Obviously the sport we love has changed and is changing right before our eyes. And I know there's a lot of people out there listening right now who are frustrated and they're turning their backs on college football because there's a lack of transparency, obviously, when it comes to what is owed from a kid. When you see a figure, $10.5 million, and you pay him that, does he have to honor the season? Does he have to play the entirety? Does he have to play in bowl games? Those are all the answers that we don't know, and I'm glad that you pointed those out, and I understand those frustrations. At the same time, clearly there are market forces at play, and most everyone who loves college football loves the free market, and I don't want to spend all the time that I get to talk today on just the concept of NIL. We do that so much in the offseason, so I just want to make a couple points specifically to this Michigan situation. Bryce Underwood goes to school 18 miles from Michigan Stadium, right? He has shown no interest in going to play for Michigan. He looked me right in our face when we interviewed him, and he said, I want to go to LSU. I don't want to go to Michigan. Obviously, there is a certain amount of money you can offer him that would get him to change his mind. I don't know if that's $10.5 million. I don't know if this is Dave Portnoy stepping in like he said he was going to with the NIL collective. I do think that Sharon Moore looked around the team this past season and said, man, we got All-Americans all over the team. We got All-Americans on both sides of the football here, and yet we're 5-5. Clearly, we've been held back by the quarterback position. I'm going to do whatever it takes to go out and get that guy. Is this your guy? I don't know. Obviously, there's risk when you draft a 22-year-old number 1 overall. You don't know if he's going to pan out, just like there's going to be risk when you offer an 18-year-old $10.5 million to come in and be the savior of a program. There's going to be risk. That risk gets exacerbated the younger the kid gets, I do believe. How does this affect them in the transfer portal, though? I've heard it on good authority that Bryce Underwood wants to play right away. Does that mean now you can't go get a transfer portal?
If you're paying that guy that amount of money, David,
does that mean that a true freshman has to come in and run the table for you in the Big Ten, kind of like we've seen with Dylan Raiola at Nebraska? Does that mean that we're looking at 6-6 again next year for Michigan, or is he going to be the savior as a true freshman? And then how much time will Coach Sharon Moore get if you're looking at back-to-back seasons of mediocrity? That's just sort of where my mind's been since the news broke today.
Yeah, and Blaine, I do want to say to the LSU fans watching this, the minute this got reported, Bryce Underwood on Instagram put a picture up, I think, of maybe his teammate at Belleville, whatever. There's like an LSU chain or something. So it was like he was responding to this. But Blaine, two-parter for you. One, how does this make Michigan look? Is this too desperate? Does it make them look just unbelievably desperate? And then if you're LSU, if Bryce Underwood comes to you and says, you know what, there's no way I can turn down this money, can you offer me either this money or something close? If I'm LSU, why would I not go get 6 good players? I don't think LSU has I know Garrett Nussmeier hasn't been amazing, all right? But I don't think LSU overall, their biggest problem is at quarterback. Why would I not go get 6 studs that I can put their hand in the ground eventually and not get my ass ran through by Alabama?
Well, with $10 million, I feel like you can almost sport an entire defense, right? And if you're LSU, hell, what do they need? An entire defense. But, for Michigan, it is somewhat embarrassing because, look, I understand going to get your guy, but if you do throw that number out here, you better be pretty damn confident he's coming. Right after this technically broke, what did Bryce do? Immediately post a picture of LSU. And it's just, how in your mind do you get to that number? $10.5 million.
Well, it did over 4 years.
4 years. Okay, and if I'm Bryce, you will tell me nothing. If you're paying me this amount, class, yeah, right, you can do whatever you want to do because you matter that much. And I'm not bringing you here to go sit on the bench if I'm paying you this money. I need you to come in and make a difference right now. So to a certain extent, do I understand Michigan trying to go get their guy? Yeah, but if you're going to go get him, you better be damn sure that you got him because this can blow back in your face immediately, and that's what happened. So right now, if you're LSU, you're feeling good about a lot of things, and if you're Michigan, you're kind of in the dumps right now looking up and looking for other options.
Well, I wonder, in a contract like this, Cone, I just don't see, and maybe it isn't, I don't know, I just don't see a world in which there's not any markers of success you would have to hit.
And can we see those?
That's can we? That's it. And I actually, if they went in there and said, listen, if you come in and play and you win 9 games or more your freshman year and you hit this statistical number, we'll pay you $2.5 million for that year. I can actually understand that from a business sense more than, hey, we're just going to give you this money, you just got to stay for 4 years. Because I don't know, David, like I've been broke before. I've had to sleep in my car before. I've had to ask people for money before. So if you offer me 10.5, that's the thing I'm scared the most about. I'm scared to death about being poor again. I swear to God, I will never be broke again. So if you offer me $10.5 million, brother, I'm probably taking it.
Yeah, and you don't want to create a situation here, which has been created, where you're offering a kid $10.5 million over 4 years, get him to sign, and immediately he's looking for the $100 million from the NFL. That's what has made this college football, this professional college football scenario so unique. Not that we're not all looking to advance in our careers, but we're not sacrificing what we're doing at the moment for some future payday. I do want to respond to this is embarrassing for Michigan allegation quickly. It certainly is counter to the system that Jim Harbaugh set up, right? We want to bring players here and develop them. We're not just, bringing in guns for hire, kind of like you saw at Florida State this past year. It is counter to that, but Jim Harbaugh's not the head coach anymore. I will say, I think that Michigan fans are thrilled to see this today, even if the kid doesn't come, because what it says is they've had to look south in Columbus and hear about this $20 million roster that was assembled. Meanwhile, Michigan, what's the right way to say this?
Ohio State's doing well.
Yeah, they're doing well, obviously, but they see a willingness from their biggest rival to participate in the game as it is now. And we've talked about Clemson and Clemson's fans' frustration that Dabo Swinney doesn't want to get involved in the transfer portal and NIL. Well, there's been this thinking that Michigan is just not going to play the NIL game, that we're going to just recruit and develop better, and that's going to get over the hump for a $20 million roster. So when they see this and they see Dave Portnoy saying, you know what? No, we're going to spend whatever we have to go toe-to-toe with our biggest rivals and the teams in the South, then they're celebrating this even if he doesn't come.
Let me ask you this. Why wait for this?
For this one specific kid?
Let's look at this Michigan football team. How are y'all built? All Americans all over the field, especially on defense. What were you missing? right? You're missing a quarterback. What should you have done? You should have used this money to go get a guy out of a portal instead of waiting for it to fall
You wouldn't even
apart.
have had to spend that money. They got Cam Ward at Miami for what?
Oh, boy's getting offered more money than Brock Purdy's making right now.
But again, that was a timing situation. So if the criticism is why didn't Michigan have better backup quarterbacks when J.J. McCarthy did decide to leave, I think that's a valid question. And look, I had to deal with the same thing when Rich Rodriguez came in and I was playing there. But they played in the last game of the season because they won the national championship. Then Jim Harbaugh didn't decide to leave until a week later. And then J.J. McCarthy didn't announce for a week after that. By that time, you're looking around, all the quarterbacks have already designated spots where they're going, and most of them are starting spring practice. They got kind of caught in a bad timing situation on that one.
Yeah, and I do want to make the difference. There is a difference, and I'm not trying to take the Michigan side in here, but I do understand the difference between spending this amount of money for a guy for 1 year as opposed to spending it on a high school player that the contract guarantees he has to stay for 4.
So expound on that.
So it's a long-term play. I can understand spending some more money if I'm buying a car that's brand new that doesn't have any miles on it. I'll spend a little bit more on it as opposed to getting one that has a ton of miles.
So he's your guy and you can develop him.
Develop him, and in that contract, you got to be here for 4 years.
But he's less proven too. On the other,
he is less proven, so you got to weigh those two things out. So to me, does it turn into something where we're like, all right, well, best case scenario, he comes in here and he's an absolute dog, right? And he's worth every penny, maybe even more than we spent. Well, maybe he comes in and 2 years, you give him a chance and it doesn't work out. Well, the contract says 4 years, or you got to pay a certain amount of the money back, which I'm sure is what it's going to say with that amount of money. Is it worth it on a high school kid as opposed to saying, hey, DJU, come here, we'll pay you $2 million to come here and play quarterback. I'm not saying that's what they paid him. Then all of a sudden, 5 games in, 6 games in, it's not working. You pull him and you're not getting the money back. So I do think there is a difference in thought process over time with a player out of high school, even though he is less proven, as opposed to going out there. But Cam Ward, worth $3 million to me. Worth $3 million. But there's only going to be one, if any, Cam Wards in the transfer portal that are that.
Well, if you're Michigan fans, how long can you wait? How long can you wait? Because you had a chance to go get a guy out of a portal. You had a chance to go get somebody. I know you at least could have got somebody who's better than what you have now. So you're going to have to, and Sharon Moore, you're going to bring this kid in. Is he going to play as a true freshman?
He wants to play right away. He wants to play right away.
Okay.
Which again, that creates a problem for Brian Kelly and LSU, which was my next question. What do you do now if you're LSU? Clearly the kid wants to come play for you more than he wants to play for Michigan, but he's not going to do it out of the goodness of his heart or do it for free. Do you counter this offer?
Here's what I say if I'm LSU. Number one, I go in there and the first thing I say is, I know you want to come here and you know that we want you. All right, we know you may be 18 miles from there, but we're closer than what 18 miles is when it comes to the relationship that we have. What I would say is, listen, I know it's a lot of money, and I know LSU is offering him NIL money. I don't know the amount. What if you go in there and you're like, I don't want to turn this into we have to match this, because we can't match that. And we're not going to match that because, we believe in the team here just like you lead your high school team every night. But here's what we can do. We can bump up the NIL. We're going to give you a little bit. And I will tell you that if you come in here and ball the way I think you're going to ball, the first time that you come in, and after the first year or first couple years, if it's going the way we think it's going to go when you're here, we can have a discussion about bumping that up too. So that's the only way I know how to attack it. Because I don't think you can go in there and be like, well, you're either going there or you're coming here and that's it, whatever. If you were undefeated and you were number 1 in the country right now and you just beat Bama, and Michigan struggling like they were, maybe you got a little bit more leverage. But I don't think LSU's got that leverage right now. So I'll go in there willing to say, you know what our relationship is. You know how we feel about you. And I'm willing when you come in and prove it, just like I know you will, because you're a man that wants to prove his work. God, I'm just back in my recruiting thing right now.
Look at you. You're in your bag right now.
You're a man that wants to prove his worth.
I'll sign, coach.
Yeah, you're a man that wants to prove his worth. You come in here for a year, do what we think you're going to do, or a couple years, you come in here, and I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. That's the only way I think you can.
Can I just end it with this? As if this situation couldn't be any more absurd, right? And I was thinking, I think the kid's still going to go to LSU. That's where he wants to go. Blaine showed me the Instagram post or whatever. But this is what really complicates it. Connor Stallions is now calling plays for Belleville, for Bryce Underwood's high school.
And if there's ever a guy who's
Connor Stallions can get him.
If there's ever guys who up to something,
I think it's too late. If you'd have got him there when Bryce Underwood was a sophomore and they had a couple of years together, I just think it's too late. I think Bryce is going to make his own decision. But I'm just so underwhelmed with the execution of NIL, but there's a pattern to that with college athletics. There's no rules in the transfer portal. Now you can play for 30 years if you want to, right? There's really no guardrails or rules on NIL, and if there are rules, they're different in each state. I'm just really disappointed in the leadership just throwing this out there with, building the parachute on the way down. And you're going to have to set precedent at each stop, which you're going to have to do anyway, but now it just convolutes it even more. What's chat?
All right, chat, hit that subscribe button. If you donate, it's on topic. It will get read. We're going to start the day off with Smokey the 3. What's up, man? Says paying one guy on the team 10X. Wow. What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, think about it, and that's a great point. What if I'm a running back on the team and I'm in the Heisman race? And I'm the best running back in the country. What if I'm Will Campbell at left tackle at LSU? And I'm not saying LSU will, but you bring this guy in for $10.5 million. Dude, I'm going to be a higher draft pick than he is. I may be the first tackle taken off the board. So, you can have the best culture possible in the locker room, the best culture possible, but you're still dealing with human beings. And if I feel like my output is just as valuable or more valuable than yours, and you come in without having proven anything, and they're paying you double what they're paying me, that's a problem. Like, that's a problem. If we're sitting here doing these type of numbers, and I look across and somebody else that's coming in who hasn't done those type of numbers, but there's potential there's getting paid more than me, I'm going to have a problem with it. Mm-hmm. So you can have, and look, these are very competitive males we are talking about. These are guys that view themselves because they have to be in a certain light of importance. So there is a dynamic in the locker room here because it's not just a little bit more. This is a lot more. This is a big, big number. So I see what Smokey's saying.
I think you're going to see a lot of situations like the Cleveland Browns right now. Desperate franchise, go all out for a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, pay him so much money that you not only reset the market, you kind of break the market there for a little bit, and he ends up coming in and not being great.
I was going to DeMarco. DeMarco, what's up? Says, what's up, guys? Love the show. Appreciate it. It says, at what point do players just become employees?
Well, that's the argument. We're heading for a rev share. That's where this is going, I think, down the road. Now, what that rev share includes with NIL being on top of it. Will it, make things easier? Will it make things more difficult? I think it's going to make things more difficult, but you have to have an answer to somewhere. I mean, at this point, like I said in the open, this is pay for play. This isn't Dr. Pepper calling Bryce Underwood saying, hey, man, we love your game. You've been at Michigan for 2 years. You're balling. You're an All-American, this, that, and the other. We love your game, and we want to sponsor you. We want to pay you $1 million a year to come on Fansville commercials and do this. That's not what NIL is. Here's what it is. Hey, all our money people at the school, even the businesses that sponsor the school, give us a lot of money, and then we'll come in and say, hey, Michigan is offering you that didn't say Barstool was offering Bryce Underwood $10.5 million. That didn't say Coca-Cola is offering Bryce Underwood $10.5 million. That said Michigan is offering Bryce Young. That is pay for play, buddy. That is you're negotiating to get an employee, right? Yeah. Hey, you're trying to choose between Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley? Well, here at Goldman Sachs, we're going to pay you $10.5 million. They're only going to pay you $2.5 million.
Which how the programs are getting around this is they're saying, hey, come to our football team and be on television for us, okay? And we also want to pay you for your likeness on television, but we need you to play good too. Yeah. And that's the part of this that is not funny. Is like, is there a stipulation that you have to play well in order to earn that money, or that you can be cut in a
I think there should be
to professional contracts?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I keep saying all these people that. And again, I'm for name, image, and likeness for these athletes. But all these people that are like, oh, well, they just feel bad for the student athlete all the time. Here's a great lesson for young people, for young players that are getting in this. When you get into business, there are two sides of business. They are paying you for an outcome that they want, for a result. Whether you're a football player, whether you're a salesman, whether you're a librarian, or you're a daiquiri maker. It doesn't matter. They are paying you for a result. So if you don't come in and deliver that result, you shouldn't get that money. That's how it works. That's the way that business works. I don't get child actors. This is like saying, oh, I feel so bad for the athlete all the time. Well, I guess we can't grade the child actor. Wow, this movie was great. The child actor was terrible, but we're not going to say that because they get paid too. If they have a bad, if little orphan Annie would have shit the bed during the performance, you know what Ebert Roper would have said? God, little orphan Annie, she's about to be orphaned from the movie business. Like that's how it works, and that's how it should work.
But you can only do that with like incentive-based contracts, right? Like for instance, if you said we're going to offer Bryce Underwood a contract up to $10.5 million, that says different. You get an extra $100,000 if you're the player of the year. You get an extra $100,000 if you win a national championship. They're in coaching contracts, you know. But I don't think that's where we are with these contracts.
And that's my biggest problem. It's like it's all one-sided. Like it's here's the money, just come. You could throw all the interceptions in the world. You could not rush for a yard. And I know it's over 4 years, so I'm sure there's guaranteed payment. It's just like any contract. It's just wild out here in these streets.
Let's go to a $5 donation from Steve Miller. Appreciate it, man. It says, no one, and I repeat, no one is worth that kind of money coming out of high school.
I was wondering, I was like, is there a high school player that I think would be worth that amount of money? And there's really only a couple that come to mind. One, LeBron James. I think LeBron James, if he went to a college, would have been worth that type of money. I think Cam Newton coming out of junior college. If you'd have asked Auburn fans, the community, hey, if y'all will give us $10.5 million, we're going to bring in a quarterback that's going to go undefeated and win a national championship. Auburn fans would have done it. Outside of that, in the football realm, I mean, what, Jadeveon Clowney maybe? But I don't think he'd be worth that. Julio Jones, maybe? I don't think he'd be worth that.
I don't know.
In football,
well, how does it affect the rest of the roster? Like we've kind of talked about.
And in basketball, you can get
But then, two, how long are you willing to wait for the results? For instance, if he's expected to come in and play as a true freshman because he's getting $2.5 million or $3 million that year, what is that signaling to the seniors on that team who that's their last year of football? Like, hey, guys, you got to go 5-7 this year.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to Slater's comment real quick. It says, Bud Elliott seems to think this dude is the closest thing to Cam Newton in a long time. Cam Newton took a mid-Auburn team to a national championship, and maybe they're just a quarterback away. I can go ahead and tell you this right now. Love Bryce, interviewed Bryce. Cam Newton was a 101. A 101 from that size, with that speed, with that athletic ability and intuition as a quarterback. You're not going to just find that walking around.
Yeah, here's what I say. I like comps. I think comps are great. But there's some comps that until I see you on a college field doing it, I'm not going to make. I'm not gonna comp anybody to Cam Newton that's coming out of high school for two reasons. One, the odds of that being right are incredibly slim. And there's other comps that I think you can make that would be more realistic. And two, that's unfair to the kid. That's unfair to the kid. I mean, I got this argument on social media, and there'll be some LSU fans that disagree with me, and that's fine. I would take Cam Newton over any quarterback that I've ever seen play college football.
Yeah, and he's a lot thinner than Cam, so I don't know if it's a player comparison or if he's talking about like
impact?
an impact comparison. If he's saying that he'll have that, I don't know. Well, I've watched a little bit of the kid's tape.
David,
he plays, it's more like Jaden Daniels than it would be to Cam Newton.
Well, that's like, look at Patrick
Which Michigan would take right now, too.
Look at Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's been incredible since he stepped foot in the NFL. How many national championships Texas Tech win?
Mm-hmm.
Look at some of the cats they had around them. Mm-hmm. Now go look at the guys that Auburn had. So, but I think Bud's right a lot of times. I think that's a little bit of a reach. And because I do think Cam Newton, until I see it on the field, I'm not going to compare you to Cam Newton, like in college at that level. But if there's a Cam Newton of the meat game, it's Good Ranchers. All right? There's something profoundly meaningful about gathering around that Thanksgiving table with people who matter the most. It's amazing. The older I get, the more I love Thanksgiving. I still love Christmas. Okay, make no mistake. It is the best holiday. But the older I get, the more I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. Maybe one of the reasons is because I can get a free ham from GoodRanchers.com when I use code BOOSTER at checkout. But I'm going to get there in a second. All right, because Good Ranchers, they're not just delivering meat. They're delivering you peace of mind because every cut comes from American farms and ranches, which means that it helps out American families like yours, that whether you're watching, listening to this show, is free from antibiotics and hormones. They don't mess with it. It's American made, and it's not injected with a bunch of crazy stuff. All right, we're talking about steakhouse quality meat that's individually vacuum sealed and it's perfectly trimmed. We use it all the time. We're making breakfast for dinner tonight, and I'm using some Good Ranchers. All right, we made so many different meals, and I know both of y'all have. It's mind-blowing. I need to start a cookbook, Good Ranchers, actually. And right now, like I said, Good Ranchers is offering something extraordinary. When you subscribe to any of their premium meat boxes, like the Butcher's Box, trust me on that one, they'll add a free Thanksgiving ham to your first delivery. That's a 10-pound spiral cut ham that's worth $110, which means in this economy it's worth about $400. But it's absolutely free to you. So go to goodranchers.com, use code BOOSTER at checkout to claim your free Thanksgiving ham. Support those American farmers, skip the grocery store chaos, and make this holiday truly special with Good Ranchers. That's goodranchers.com. Use promo code BOOSTER. Helps us out, helps you out, helps out America, everybody but the ham and the turkeys, and they understand what's going on anyway. All right, let's move on. David, let's go to some locks, leans, and dogs on a third.
Oh, yes.
Come on.
Who are we locking in this week?
All right, first off, I would like to say great job last week, gentlemen. Made a ton of money. I want to give a shout out to Georgia Tech and Rutgers, both my dogs that hit. Both my locks hit because I bet Army again.
Smart man.
And I took Ohio State. But unfortunately, guys, right, just like the Germans at the end of World War II, the Army's taking off this week. All right, they're taking off. So give me Ohio State on the road at Northwestern, minus 27.5. That's going off at a dirty minus 130. Then I bought this under up a little bit. It's in locks. But Tennessee and Georgia right now, I got the under 50 at minus 143. I think it's 48, and the money is still on the under, but I bought it up to 50 in case there's a surprise or two. Special teams, touchdown, defensive touchdown, which probably wouldn't be a surprise in this game when you look at the way both these offenses have operated, especially in the first half. And then my leans. Arkansas, plus 14.5. Something smells funny in Fayetteville this weekend. It's not because the bacon went bad. That's at minus 143. Then Jacksonville State at home against FIU, which with the way they play, talking about Florida International, you might as well take the eye out of there. Give me Jacksonville State, who I swore I'd never bet on for the rest of the year after they looked me in the eyes and whatted me against Coastal Carolina. But they're hot. They've hit Hail Marys. They're scoring a bunch of points. Give me the Gamecocks minus 13 at minus 127. And then my dogs.
What is sick dog?
That's sickly. A dog. That's a healthy dog.
Dogs of hell.
West Virginia, money line.
Yes.
At home, plus 114. They got this Italian lefty at quarterback who's going to throw for about 250 and then go get $10 from every business within a 3-mile ratio. I can say that because I'm Italian. And then Nebraska, USC, two big brands, two bad seasons, right? One quarterback got hurt, you had to change it. The other one's feelings got hurt, and you took him out. Give me Nebraska, the Cornhuskers, to shock the world. Probably take the under here, too, on the money line at USC at plus 260. Fight me.
I like a lot of what you're putting down. Bring mine up. It's an underfest, boys. I'm going to lock in two unders. Let me start with Colorado and Utah. This is an 11 o'clock Central kick. Under 46.5, minus 110. I just don't think Utah is going to be able to score a lot of points. And even if Colorado does, I'm still going to take the under 46.5 in this game. Same with LSU, Florida, under 55, minus 110 now. I don't think we're in a situation where Florida is going to be able to run it up on this LSU defense down to their third string quarterback there. And I also don't see LSU putting up 56 against Florida. So minus 110 on the odds there. Give me both those unders. I'm going to lean another under. Tennessee, Georgia, under 48.5.
Like it.
Minus 123. Obviously, that number is going to come down if Nico does, in fact, not play in the football game. But even as it stands right now, if he does play, I like the under in that game. You take Nebraska money line?
Yeah.
Give me Nebraska plus 9 points, minus 108 on the odds. Going and playing USC that just benched their quarterback, Miller Moss, going to make a change there at the position. I like Nebraska on the road.
Who would have thought that?
Wild. I also like the West Virginia money line, plus 114 as one of my dogs. I wanted to take West Virginia as a dog last week. They were on the road playing Cincinnati. They won 31-24. I've hit two other West Virginia dogs this season. I'm going back to the well as they host Baylor. Both teams 5-4, so I'm going to be bet buds with you on that one. And then Tennessee money line, plus 295. Again, I just think that's a ton of value for a Tennessee team that hasn't given up 20 points on defense, is going to be playing a Georgia team that's been turning the football over.
I love it. Vanya.
I love it, fellas. Let's keep the momentum going. I'm also going with the Ohio State minus 27.5, minus 130 against Northwestern. Someone turn on the lights. It's an absolute ass beating. And then why wouldn't I do this? Give me ULM. Plus 24.5. Shout out Bryant Benson and the boys. Pretty good squad there, both sides of the ball. And trust me, if you want me to sit here and believe in a Peyton Thorne quarterback team, I won't. Then give me the leans. I'm talking Michael Jackson. Tennessee, plus 10.5. This all comes down to the health of Nico. I really think this is a great number if he is healthy.
To cover or to win? Do you think they can cover that without Nico, with Gaston Moore? I think they could.
I think they could, the way Georgia's offense looked this year. But the way, what we're hearing and what we're seeing right now is Nico will play in this football game. And they give me BYU money line, minus 130 at home. I believe the spread in this game is 2.5, 3.5 against a Kansas team. Isn't it funny when you're the number 6 team in the nation and you're playing a 3-6 Kansas team and you're favored by a field goal? That would be talked about for another day. And my dogs, bark, bark. Bark, bark. Arizona State money line plus 245. That's going off against Kansas State.
God, Colorado would love that.
Arizona State, absolutely sneaky squad the way they play football. They're not scared to run it right at you. And then give me Syracuse money line plus 230 against a Cal team who has been somewhat struggling. And Syracuse is due for another big win. And that game will probably be pretty good for Syracuse before they have to go home and are covered in snow.
All right, in the chat, give us your best lock bet. All right, on a Thursday. I want the best lock bet that you have. I'm just really upset that Army's off this week, but I'm not upset when men are responsible because I'm going to give you some time in the chat to put that lock in there. And we all know our diets nowadays with all the stuff that's in food, and I'm not talking about just the way it's cooked, fried, or whatever, but all the processed stuff that's in there. It's hard to have a great diet, so you need to supplement that, all right, which equals responsibility. How about a multivitamin that has 33 key ingredients packed in there that support your immune system, sharpen your brain, and keep your heart and muscles strong? And that's what you got with Responsible Man. All right, it keeps you in the game. At the end of the year, we're going to give you our Responsible Man of the Year in college football. It's going to be hard. There's a couple guys right now that are at the top of that list. It's going to be hard not to give to. It's going to be really interesting. But also, Responsible Man's a Daily Wire Ventures company. Right, so they're made right here in the good old USA. No cheap imports, no outsourcing, just good old-fashioned American quality, like the kind of football that we love. And right now, you can take advantage of Responsible Man's early access Black Friday sale and get 60% off your order. Just head over to responsibleman.com. Use code BOOSTER at checkout, but hurry, the deal will not last long. Remember, strong America needs strong men. And right now, take advantage of that Responsible Man's early access Black Friday sale and get 60% off when you use code BOOSTER at responsibleman.com. Responsibleman.com. Let the responsibility just shower over you. All right, let's get to the chat.
All right, let's go to the Schlonghorn. What's up, man? He says, I'm loving...
Hold on. Stop.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Can I give this guy a compliment?
For sure.
Anytime I hear a great handle in here that is original, that I've never... And maybe Texas fans have heard this for 30 years. I don't know. I have never heard that. I don't know what you're about to say, good or bad, but... Congrats on having a great handle.
Says his lock.
Jake's so stupid.
He's like, God, that Jake guy, what a dumbass.
He says the lock right now is South Carolina minus 13.5.
Do we know the hell? I don't look. South Carolina's, about as hot as it gets right now. It's like an air fryer on the sun. But is Brady Cook going to play? Do we know if Brady Cook? Because Brady Cook's not playing that game, and they got Drew Pine, the Eagle Scout at quarterback. South Carolina's about to murder them. Bad. But if you're South Carolina, listen, I want to say this to South Carolina fans real quick. I'm so extremely proud of what Shane Boomer's doing. Unbelievably impressive. And we root for him. We like Shane here. He's a great guy. 9-3 if you don't get in the conference championship outside of some cataclysmic event around the world of college football, not just in one spot. A 9-3 regular season with no appearance in the conference championship is not going to get you in the playoff. Now, the argument you do have is South Carolina's playing like a top 12 team in the country right now. Mm-hmm. I think they are. I think they are going to beat the hell out of Missouri. And not just because Missouri's got injuries, because South Carolina's playing that good. But if you're a South Carolina fan and you're going to be pissed off if you don't make the college football playoff, I get it. Totally understand it. But look at the momentum you have and who is coming back next year. And I know there's some South Carolina fans that are like, oh, we're losing some of these defensive players to graduation. You can go get great players because there are great things going on. South Carolina's going to be a really hot name, not only at the end of the year, but into the offseason as well. And Lenore Sellers, guess what? Turns out he was a baller.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to CJ. CJ, what's up? He says, what's our thoughts on LSU to cover against Florida? He likes LSU by a mile.
I'm interested in, and you had the Colorado-Utah game in your locks. I'm very interested to see how LSU bounces back now that they're out of it, and how Utah bounces back after they feel like they got screwed. That's what I'm interested to see. Do I think LSU is going to win this game? Yes. Do I think if anybody's going to blow anybody out, it's going to be LSU blowing out Florida? Yes. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I ain't touching this one, buddy. not with a 10-foot pole, because I think there's other bets on the board.
And in that scenario, let's just say LSU does blow out Florida. Right? I think they do it in a way where that under hits, or at least they hold Florida to so few points. And the same thing with Utah. If Utah bounces back to play Colorado tough, they're going to do so with a defensive performance that kind of stifles Colorado on offense. They're not going to do so by scoring 45 points.
Yeah, if the only way I'd take a side is if I get LSU minus 2.5. That's the only way.
Let's go to Troy. Troy, what's up? He says, if I will put up 42 on Wisconsin, give me the Oregon TTP over 48. This 48 flat, you can go ahead and lock that in.
I don't think an East Carolina TTP tonight against Tulsa is a bad play either. Tulsa's defense is basically Tulsa spelled backwards. They're letting everybody get in there.
Let's go to Brian. He says, my locks are Jacksonville State minus 13.5 and Liberty minus
playing UMass
13.5.
I saw that. I saw Liberty minus 12 earlier when I was looking at DraftKings. So I don't know. I think that's a great bet too. I mean, UMass, I think we all know how they are. All right, one more.
Let's go to the Vol Man. He says, how crazy would I be to put all my money on Tennessee money line?
All the money you have? All the money you have, or all the money you're betting? I
just tell them to do it. Let it ride.
Under. If you're going to take all the money, if your family's future depends on whether this bet hits or not, I wouldn't make the bet regardless because it's just not worth it. But if you were going to have to, I would put it on the under. And if you're going to put all the money, I would buy that bad boy up to under 50 as well. All right, the phone lines are going to open here in about 5 minutes. It's 1-855-236-3228. We get a ton of calls. So if you call in, you get on. Let's go 30, 35 seconds. We want to hear from everybody from all over. But we got a new segment that we started this week that I just freaking love, dude. And it's where we go through the playoff scenario of individual teams, because I have so many people that ask me, and I know y'all do too, all right, hey, I'm a this fan. What do I need to be cheering for to have happen? So we decided we were going to take an individual team as we, get closer to the college football playoff and talk about what they need to have happen. Last time I took SMU, David, you took Bama.
Alabama.
And Blaine, you took Notre Dame.
Yep.
Correct.
And you took Notre Dame. So this week, David, why don't you start us with
All right. I'm going to start with Clemson. This is what Clemson needs, and this is what they're rooting for to make the college football playoff. And I think Clemson is one of the more fascinating teams here for a couple reasons. Let me just start off with Clemson not making the ACC championship game. Obviously, they're coming off. They have the loss to Louisville. Let's say they finished 10-2. Obviously, you would need to win out in that scenario, and that's at Pitt this weekend. Then you'd get the Citadel, and then you got South Carolina in an out-of-conference matchup, a team that you were just talking about. So let's say you win out, you're 10-2, but you don't make the ACC championship game because that's Miami and SMU. Then in that scenario, you really need Miami to go ahead and beat SMU in the conference championship game. You don't want SMU to get that automatic bid, and you're sitting there with a 10-2 Miami against you with 10-2 from a brand perspective and the way they've been playing. It makes things more messy than it needs to be. Obviously, you, like most of the teams in the country, are rooting for Notre Dame to lose and pick up another loss. You need as many 3-loss teams as possible. So in the SEC, you want Tennessee just to go ahead and beat Georgia, give them that third loss. You want Texas to beat Texas A&M at the end of the season, give them that third loss. South Carolina to beat Missouri this weekend coming up, give them a third loss. And really, you want South Carolina to win all of their games other than when you play them, right? You need South Carolina to look as good as possible to boost that win, which, look, South Carolina looks like one of the better teams in the country right now. I don't know anyone who wants to play them. And then you're pulling for anybody who is playing Bama and Ole Miss. Not that you would necessarily have to have those teams pick up a third loss, but if they do, if Alabama gets a third one or Ole Miss gets a third one, that's going to do nothing but help you. In the Big 12, you're pulling for a similar situation as to what I broke down with Alabama. You want BYU to just go ahead and win that conference and be undefeated. Yep. One team has to make it from the Big 12. Just be undefeated. You don't want Colorado to beat BYU. They're sitting there at 12-1, and Colorado gets the automatic bye, or could play in the first round, but they would be 11-2 at that point.
Both those conferences aren't getting 2 teams.
You don't want that to happen. As far as the Big Ten, again, I'll say it. I think it's going to be very difficult for 4 teams not to make it, and those 4 teams being Oregon, Indiana, the Buckeyes, and Penn State. Of course, you could pull for some scenarios there where someone picks up another loss, but a realistic thing is you could pull for Indiana to get blown out by the Buckeyes, lose by 40 points or something like that. That would at least hurt them from not strength of schedule, but from an eye test standpoint, right? Okay, but here's what I really want to talk about with Clemson. Let's just say that they pick up that third loss to South Carolina. okay, and you're 9-3. And now you lost to Georgia at the front end, not a conference loss. You lost to South Carolina at the back end, not a conference loss. And you have that one conference loss to Louisville, and you're 9-3. But Miami or SMU slips up, and you make the conference championship. Well, obviously, you need to go and win that, and you need to be the automatic qualifier who gets in from the ACC. All of that could still technically happen for Clemson right now. And the scenario we would see is in 2023, an undefeated ACC team, Florida State, 2-0 against the SEC, gets left out of a 4-team playoff, but a 9-3 champ in 2024 in Clemson could technically make it for the ACC.
David, let me ask this about Clemson, because they're in, I think, kind of a weird area of, we talked about it, would a 10-3 team that got their third loss in the conference championship, how is that going to be viewed by the committee, and would they get a spot as opposed to a 10-2 team that didn't play in the conference championship, whether they be in the same conference or not? Because I'm looking at Clemson, and if we say, all right, Clemson ends up on the year going, let's say they went out and they go 10-2, and they have a win over South Carolina at home in the end, which is a good win right now, but I would say that's probably their only good win, like the win you can look at. If they were to go in the ACC championship game and lose to go 10-3, I don't see a world in which that 10-3 Clemson team would get in over a 10-2 Big 12 team,
right now,
and 11-1 Indiana, even if they get blasted, or a 10-2 SEC team like, let's say, Tennessee or Ole Miss or somebody like that. So is Clemson kind of in that rare category of, hey, even if you go 10-2 during the regular season, you have to win this conference championship game to get in, as opposed to maybe, let's say, Texas A&M beats Texas, like I'm about to go over, and they lose to, somebody, Tennessee or somebody in the SEC championship. You're like, damn, you got a good win, and your losses are to Notre Dame and this, that, and the other. Clemson just seems to be...
Right now, I think that Clemson could make a case to get in the college football playoff if they're 10-2 and they don't make the ACC championship game and they don't win it. I think they need some help to be there at 10-2, but they certainly could get in just like all the other 10-2 teams across the country we're talking about. They could obviously get in by winning the ACC, and we broke down that scenario. Making the ACC championship game and losing it to either Miami or SMU and being 10-3, I don't know if Clemson would be able to get in the college football playoff at that point. Obviously, the case they would make is, wait. Ole Miss gets to sit home and not make the SEC championship game. Notre Dame gets to sit home at 10. Let's just assume they're 10.
And look at our schedule.
And look at our schedule. And we beat South Carolina to be able to get into the conference championship, even though that wouldn't be a conference win, but they'd be 10-2
It'd be a good win
to finish. The rest of these teams at 10-2 are sitting across the country not risking the conference championship. Why should we be penalized? It's a conversation that we're going to hear from a third-loss team if it happens, regardless of the conference.
All right, great stuff, David. If you're a Clemson fan, that's what you needed to know. I got Texas A&M. First thing I want to say is all the other stuff doesn't matter if y'all handle y'all's damn business. If y'all beat New Mexico State and y'all go beat Auburn and you beat Texas at home, you're in not only in the SEC championship game to play somebody, you're in the college football playoff. So you don't need no help. But just because you don't need no help, don't mean I'm going to turn down help. All right, I got a lawnmower, but if somebody wants to come over and cut my lawn for free, go ahead and do your thing, big dog. So handle your business, but that doesn't mean you can't accept help if they're going to give it to you. So here's what needs to happen. You don't need to worry about what Texas does. You're going to get your shot at them. You need to worry about yourself. So don't worry about them at Arkansas. Don't worry about who they play next. You're going to have a chance to knock them off at home, ruin their hopes possibly, and accentuate what a great year you've had. What you want to root for is 3 losses. You want teams with 3 losses because at the end of the day, when you're looking at the SEC championship, you have 1 SEC loss. All right, so whether it's Bama, whether it's whoever, whether it's Georgia if they lose to Tennessee, whether it's Tennessee if they lose to Georgia and then play Vanderbilt, you want teams to have 3 losses because I don't see you losing at Auburn. We know Auburn's a crazy place to play, and they always sneak one out every now and then, but I think A&M's too damn good, which means that even if you lose to Texas, yes, you have 3 losses overall, but you have 2 SEC losses, which is the most important thing when it comes to conference play. Also, you want Tennessee to beat Georgia for that same reason. You want Georgia to have 3 losses. If they have 3 losses, Georgia ain't catching you. Now, Tennessee will only have 1 loss in the league, and that may be who you see if you beat Texas here in a couple weeks, but you would rather Tennessee get out of here with 1 loss and Georgia have 3 than Tennessee to get out of there with 2 losses and Georgia to still have 2 losses because that puts everything in the tiebreaker blender. And then you may be the only team in the country that wants this to happen outside of if you're in South Bend. You want Notre Dame to win out. You want Notre Dame to win out. Beat Army, beat, Virginia, whoever they're playing, and look great doing it. You may not even be Catholic, but you maybe should go to Catholic Mass this weekend because you are probably the only team in college football outside of the players in the locker room at Notre Dame that want Notre Dame to win out because it makes you look better. And if we get down into a situation where you lose to Texas, right, and you're like, oh, well, look at our record. That Notre Dame win, if there's any possibility of a team that already has 2 losses to get in, it would probably be y'all. It's still not very likely. But you need to root for Notre Dame for a couple more reasons too, David, because let's say you do end up going 10-2 and you beat Texas and you're in the SEC championship game and you lose it and you go 10-3. So you're not getting that automatic bid. Not only do I think you have a chance to make the college football playoff, I think there's a slight chance that you could host a college football playoff game if Notre Dame can win out, because that looks like a great loss. And I tell you what, that A&M's other losses to who? South Carolina? Mm-hmm. You want them to beat Clemson too. Mm-hmm. All right, you want them to look great on the way out because those are 2 really quality losses that the committee will look at the end of the year, even though we don't know what they're going to do because they don't know what they're going to do. So that's where I'm at with A&M.
Okay, I love it. Let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes for a second here. One, if you win out, you are in. Obviously, right now, you're slated to play in the ACC championship game. If you win that, obviously, you are in. But let's say you get to that ACC championship game and you lose that football game. So now you're sitting with 2 losses. The first thing you need to happen, Notre Dame, y'all need to lose. All right, Notre Dame needs to lose, and then you go through everything else, right? You go look at the Big Ten, Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, and Penn State. I mean, at the end of the day, all have 1 loss. The only team that still have to play each other in that is Indiana and Ohio State beside a conference game. And then you go and you look at your schedule, and this is when you get in trouble, because if you look around the league, do you have a better resume than 6 teams that didn't win the SEC, the Big Ten, and to a lesser extent, the Big 12? And right now, you do not. Sitting out of Tennessee with an 8-1, Texas A&M 7-2, Texas 8-1, Georgia 7-2, Mississippi 8-2, Alabama 7-2, and even Missouri sitting at 7-2. So right now, because the strength of schedule is easy to convince the committee, trust me, it's not hard that you're going to only take 3 at-large SEC teams, even with 1 loss, and I wouldn't be surprised with 3 losses over a 2-loss Miami team. So 3 SEC teams and 3 Big Ten teams, and Notre Dame making in with a large bid, I don't see any room for Miami to make this. So Miami gets on really extremely shaky ground if they do even lose that second loss because your resume is so bad. So if anything, you need carnage at the top.
And also, if you're Miami, it's the same thing as if you're Clemson. Mm-hmm. You want BYU to win out, win the conference championship. You want Colorado to lose to Utah. You want Kansas State to lose to Arizona State. You want 1 team coming out of the Big 12. Because, again, went back and did the math last night, and if Notre Dame gets in, I don't think the Big 12 or the ACC, either one of them's getting 2 teams in. But let's say Notre Dame's not in there and one of them's going to get 2 teams in. You would be a lot better served to be in the ACC if BYU runs the table and ends up going 13-0, being that 1 bid and gives a team in the Big 12 their 3rd loss. Mm-hmm. And if you're Miami, that 2nd loss coming in the ACC championship game to, let's say, maybe an SMU, who at that point would probably be 12-1 and get that bye. I think Miami with Cam Ward, with their cachet, would be a 2nd team that was taken out of either the Big 12 or the ACC.
Yeah, so with your scenario there, you were saying Miami goes 11-1. That lone loss at Georgia Tech this past weekend goes to the ACC championship game and loses. So you're 12. You're 11-2. You're 11-2. That's the scenario you were talking about, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So in that scenario too, you would want the loss to be to SMU.
Yes,
correct.
Well, you'd either want it to be, you'd want it to be to SMU in the conference championship, hoping that Clemson also picked up another loss, an out-of-conference loss to South Carolina.
Yes,
right.
Very true.
So that
you want there to be no gray area in between you and the 2nd or the 3rd team, let's say.
Basically saying, College Football Playoff Committee, please take 2 ACC teams. Mm-hmm. Hopefully Notre Dame's lost another game and you think they're out of it. Hopefully BYU's gone undefeated and only 1 Big 12 team gets in. And then let's just hope there are, a couple SEC teams pick up a 3rd loss.
And I've seen people, and I know we got to move on, but I've seen people that have said, well, the Big 12 is better than the ACC. You're missing the argument. This isn't a which conference is better situation. That's going to be handled in the 1 through 4 ranking of who gets the bye. This is a which 2nd team in the conference is better in the ACC and the Big 12. This isn't who has the most depth, 1 through 14 or whatever, or 1 through 12. This is that 2nd team out, the ACC's 2nd team. So the loser of the ACC championship game and the loser of the Big 12 championship game if BYU does what they're supposed to do. Which second spot is better to get the only spot left to get in the playoff? So the argument of which conference is better means nothing.
Think about 2 seasons ago when Michigan made the college football playoff and lost to TCU, and the Buckeyes made the college football playoff and lost to Georgia. Down ballot, the Big Ten wasn't that great. But they made up 50% of the college football playoff that year because their top 2 teams were so.
Well, David, look at what's happening this year. You could have 4 teams coming out of the Big Ten, and once you get past those 4 teams, it falls off a lot in that conference this year. But those 4 teams deserve to be.
Would you give seriously, what team would you give Miami the nod over A&M 10-2?
To be
in the playoffs.
If they were 11-2 and they lost in the conference
and
championship.
And A&M didn't play in the conference championship game?
How bad does Texas A&M lose to Texas?
And how bad does Miami lose in the ACC
7. By 7.
So it's tight both ways. I think because of Cam Ward, they would take Miami.
I'm not talking about I'm talking about you.
Oh, what I would do? I think A&M. I think Miami's defense is dog shit.
Okay, what about Ole Miss?
I think I'd take Ole Miss.
And Ole Miss wins out. And
I think Ole Miss could beat 90.
This is where Miami gets in trouble if you lose. Like, this is where we talk about conference championship can come back and bite you right in the ass. I mean, you lose this game, you fall to that 10-13 territory where you, even further than that, you're not going to get the nod over these Big Ten teams or these SEC teams.
Okay, well, how about this one?
That bad?
How about this one, though? How about this one? Texas A&M 10-2 in your scenario. Notre Dame does drop one. They lose to Army or they lose to SEC at the end of the year, and they're 10-2. But you're sitting there with a win over Texas A&M, who's also 10-2. If you remove Notre Dame at 10-2 because of the loss that's so bad to Northern Illinois and not having a conference championship, does it automatically withdraw Texas A&M too? Or did they say that happened 3 months ago?
Again, so like that's a question of, is there a loss that is so bad that you can have that negates a
head-to-head? I don't think
I don't think there is.
I don't think there can
I don't think there is. I don't. And it's Notre Dame. So,
and it happened at Texas A&M.
But
that win.
Where Texas A&M could get away with it, I think, is if they make the SEC championship game and they lose to get that third loss. Yes, Notre Dame beat us 4, but Notre Dame has 2 losses. They lost to Northern Illinois, they lost to Army, and they didn't have to play a conference championship.
Well, they probably won't make the SEC championship game if they pick up a second loss.
No, I'm saying their next loss is in the SEC championship.
Yeah, so that
there's a scenario where A&M.
Oh, so you're but then it would be
10-3. It would be 10-3 versus Notre Dame's 10-2.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
See, because that's a tricky situation as well. All right, want to get to phone calls, but first, we do this on Thursday. All right, we typically do this on Wednesday, but sometimes we do it on Thursday. Because guess what? I've been to this man's house. You want to talk about a lawn that looks good?
It does look good.
I mean, it's basically a Miracle-Gro post-Miracle-Gro commercial. And every week, David has somebody needs to get off his lawn. David, who better get their happy ass off your lawn right now or there's going to be consequences?
Thomas Castellanos needs to get off my lawn. This week, Boston College head coach Bill O'Brien announced he was making a change at quarterback for the remainder of the season and benching former starter Thomas Castellanos. Apparently, this news resulted in Castellanos quitting the team based on O'Brien's statement, quote, obviously he wasn't thrilled with that, so he's taking a few days away from the team, unquote. Now we've learned from our friends over at On3 that Castellanos is expected to enter the transfer portal and not return to BC or travel with the team. What a gutless move. Here your team sits 1 win away from bowl eligibility and you quit on them the first time you face adversity. Obviously, many programs need a capable quarterback, so Castellanos will be recruited. But how can you join a new team and look the third string center in the face who's getting his butt whipped every day on scout team after you quit on your last team? How can you look the walk-on defensive end who's putting extra effort in the face? He's trying to earn that scholarship. How can you demand NIL money from a program when you run away and hide the first time things don't go your way? This isn't the first player we've seen quit in the middle of the season, and he will be far from the last. But it's a slap in the face to college football fans across the country. It's a slap in the face to the young men who would love to run out on the field and be part of that team. And it's especially a slap in the face to those of us who didn't give up just because we weren't performing well or playing up to expectations at all times. So I hope someone gets in this young man's ear and mentors him through this situation. I'd be happy to help if he'd listen, but for right now, he has to get off my lawn.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
100%.
You're exactly right. This to me, this makes you radioactive.
You think so?
I think it makes you radioactive.
To what extent?
To a top-level program, regardless of how desperate they are.
Would Auburn take him?
Hell no.
Really?
You ain't going to put up with that. Do you quit on your team right before they're about to be bowl eligible? I mean, say what you want. Like, I had my doubt. We kind of knocked Spencer Rattler for kind of his sideline, body language when he got replaced by Caleb Williams. But his ass stuck it out.
Yeah.
And look what happened to him. I wonder if we're to the point now where where the players that are in college were the generation of the participation trophy. Like, if that generation has moved up to the college level where everybody got a trophy and everything was okay as long as you're okay. Dude, this is football. This is the ultimate team sport. And you're an adult. Let's be honest. You're an adult, dude. Like, the fact that if you quit football and I'm a businessman that wants to hire somebody, I'm not hiring you.
That's where I'd like to mentor him and say, man, this is a short game. Life is a long game,
like this makes me question all the people that have mentored you. Like, and ultimately it falls on you, but this is such a bad look, because guess what? By doing this, right? And I'm not saying you got to be happy about it, about not playing. I understand that. But by doing this, you might as well have gotten up to a podium, gone to the mic and said, this is all about me. It's all about me. And my effort and my caring and my want is going to be determined on how comfortable I am with the situation that's going on. So you can't trust him. And the sad part is he's really talented. Really talented. And I think could have a chance to maybe probably end up in the CFL or something. I don't think he's a good enough thrower. But this is, I think you have ruined yourself by doing this. But no, in society today, he'll be the starting quarterback.
Well, I guess, that's the theory. Well, if everyone does it, then how can you possibly be penalized? Which that's a problem, which I saw a lot of people saying, well, he shouldn't have been benched in the first place. That's not what this is about.
No.
Blaine, where do you think he'll land?
I don't know. Maybe Michigan.
Thank you. Great.
You're welcome. I see how much Michigan offers.
After Bryce falls through.
Breaking news: Michigan just offered him $13 million.
No, they offered him $13. But no, this.
Look, man. I mean, obviously he's not going to come to Auburn. Wouldn't be a bad backup.
Well, what? Yeah, you would.
Yeah,
not really.
He just left the team when he got made the backup. He would be the worst backup.
I need a win, damn it.
He wouldn't even be there.
I need a win.
He'd be the worst backup.
Oh, man. Y'all ready for calls?
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right, let's see what Mike in Colorado has to say. What's going on today, man?
Hey, afternoon, guys.
Mike.
What's up, Mike?
So, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having Timmy B on. Need to hook that guy to my veins. He just sees everything so clearly.
We hooked Timmy B up to your veins. You'd run more than Forrest Gump. This man's got a battery. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He never stops. He's the man.
I know I turned into Dwayne The Rock Johnson for sure. But so we're taking my son to his first game this weekend here against Utah. And so I'm going to try to make it to the pregame. But I had some questions for you about which sign I should take. And I had some ideas.
Which sign?
So first one, sign to take to get on the Fox Big Noon show.
Okay. How about noon games are awesome? They'll put you front and center on there.
Yeah. So Kamala's campaign was run better than Utah's defense.
Not bad.
Tim Walz was Utah's head coach.
Okay.
Utah comes from a middle-class family.
That's your winner.
That's your best one.
Because that one can slip through.
Yeah.
I just think a big sign on my face and a mustache just says dragon would be great.
I just think you should put Utah unburdened by what has been.
that one's pretty obvious, yeah. Or Utah never worked at McDonald's.
Or Utah is for they, them.
Ooh, that one.
Like
they'll never put that on.
Yeah, they'll escort you out.
Yeah, you'll wake up in a Siberian prison.
I like that Utah grew up in a middle-class family.
I like that, too.
I think that one's the best one you got there. If it's not going to be my face and a beautiful mustache, then I think that's the best thing you got.
We'll be looking for you on Big Noon, man.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. He's got a picture of Travis Hunter. He wants to try to get up on the screen and everything. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, make another sign that says Crain and Company kicks ass and use that one too.
Oh, I mean, that's stating the obvious, of course.
Let's go,
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Mike, let us know how it goes.
But I will tell you the other thing with paying these guys, especially over a 4-year, if you ask if there is a player we would do that to, I think Colorado would obviously have paid $5 million to get Shedeur here. I mean, look what he's done for the economy, for the state, for the recognition of this college right now.
Well, would it be
those are
$5
bigger
million
considerations.
after what Shedeur did last year for this year? Or $5 million coming over from, Jackson State where he was to Colorado?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's more of a transfer portal question. But when you look at the impact that some of these kids can have, I could see why they want the money, right? And a 4-year contract, that'd sure be better than bringing them in for a 1 year and let them transfer.
Yeah,
sure. But is there a cap on that? Would he have been worth $50 million? Right? Like, who's running the math
there's
to
for
see?
Sure a cap.
Yeah, and who's deciding what that cap is, and how are you deciding? How are you deciding it against who else gets paid on the team? I understand that college programs are going to more and more general managers like the NFL has, but how are you keeping up with? Okay, if we pay this one kid $10 million, we can't then pay all the other people on the roster.
You want to know one of the first teams to bring in an actual GM and give them that title?
Bama?
Vanderbilt, Barton Simmons.
Head of the curve, Professor X and Clark.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks,
man.
if you're just SMU, you got the death penalty for this.
Oh, that's what.
Oh, they gave you the
death penalty for giving boy a whip.
A car.
Can you
I'm
imagine?
suing. I don't know who.
Oh God,
I'm suing something.
Yeah,
They're getting sued by everyone else.
I'm backdating the.
Apparently,
lawsuit.
we're the only 3 college athletes who aren't suing the NCAA right now.
You got to get with it.
Meanwhile, I need to talk to my lawyer.
Yeah, me too. And I want to talk to Austin in Alabama too. Will you be our lawyer, Austin?
I can be if you need me to be.
Yeah,
Come on, dude.
I got family members that are lawyers, so I can help you there.
Good. You're hired.
I just want to say this. Oregon is the first team since 2015 to beat Ohio State and Michigan in the same year.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Did you see that thing about some NFL teams are interested in Dan Lanning? What are your thoughts on that?
That's not happening.
No, I don't think so either. I think he's a college guy.
Yeah, he's college. Well, it wouldn't shock me maybe in 10 years or so he goes to the NFL since he's so young.
Man, I'm telling you, Austin, Nick Saban going to the NFL and not having success because he can't have the control in college has trickled down to so many of these top college guys who are like, I'm not even going to test it. I think Dan Lanning's one of them.
So do you think this is just his agent floating something? Just to
it's a battle. How did the aliens build the pyramids? It's a battle of leverage, dog.
Yeah, that's true. And I got one funny
that's
thing
true.
to say. What would I have to do for y'all to get me the perfect wedding present for me next year? For tickets to make it, if Oregon makes it the national title, to give me tickets to go.
What would you have to do?
You'd have to buy 2 tickets to the Oregon National Championship.
Okay. Well, you should. Yeah, you should tell us where to get the tickets and then send us the money.
Yeah,
buy them and then we'll give them to you.
Hey, I don't want to rush this. Okay, we have time.
Yeah.
All right, give us a second to think about it. I'm fine with this. Give me a second to think about it, and I think we can come up with something.
Blaine will come to your wedding dressed like a duck.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at your wedding anyways.
Yeah, he's coming.
I'm always watching. I'm like that white old guy from The Matrix.
He heard
1,000 TV.
He heard open bar and he come a running.
I heard open.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Austin. Thanks, man. All right, let's go to Peter in California. Peter, how's everything going out there?
What's up, Jake, Blaine, David, and Justine? Pongo!
Pongo alert, Peter!
They didn't even say it on here.
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, Peter?
I tried calling again for the past 2 weeks, but all I got was a busy signal. But thanks for
times are good round here.
I'd like to start by saying that this college football season is the most exciting of my life, the most exciting season of my life, and I really appreciate the fact we get SEC games in prime time on ABC so much.
Yeah, I agree.
That parody, that Dawson's Creek parody that they did, that advertisement that trolled the ABC, that was an awesome advertisement.
Yeah. What do you think about games at noon?
I don't have a problem with games at noon. I mean, I gotta say, I prefer Big Ten in the evening, but I don't mind them in the afternoon.
Well, hell, for you, it's like 9 in the morning.
Big kickoff.
Yeah.
A wideout shouldn't be played at noon.
I agree with that.
Right?
I'd rather
just
live in the Eastern time zone than the Pacific time zone, because if I lived in the Eastern time zone, then I would severely be able to just, get my breakfast and when you get there in the morning so I can watch the games later in the day.
Yeah. Like if it's Minnesota versus, Iowa, I'll watch that at noon.
I would love that.
That's fine. I want to wave at the kids too. Like I get it, but like if it's Penn State whiteout, I want it 7 o'clock.
Listen, there's a reason why they give you appetizers before the entree.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Nobody's going in there ordering a steak and then ordering mozzarella sticks after it. That's not how it goes down. Okay, so there should be appetizer games that are on earlier, and then, hey, here comes the entree, right? And then maybe a little bit of dessert late at night, right? Which we get sometimes. At least we used to get back in the day. But, Peter, we'll see you, buddy. Great call.
Thanks, Peter.
Appreciate it, Pete.
So you're saying don't eat the mozzarella sticks as your entree?
I don't know why this.
What are you, a
I don't know how
monster?
this turned to mozzarella sticks, but I'm going to take it to disrespect. Watch your mouth.
Well, mozzarella
Watch your
sticks
mouth.
aren't an entree. They're either a side or an appetizer.
I'm going to have to take notes on that.
Yeah, like
then.
who are you?
Please, I'm
Who
shocked
are
if
you to
were
make
eat
that
mozzarella
rule?
sticks as an entree.
Let's go to Michael in Texas. Michael, how do you feel about mozzarella sticks?
I would not eat it with anyone named Stacy.
Yeah, because you wouldn't get any.
Yeah, but her mom sure got it going on.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk. Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about her up here. I'll get
Yeah. But we can talk.
We can't. Yeah, that and betting. We don't.
Yeah. Can't do it.
Yeah. No, but I need to give my opinion on the whole. This is the first I've heard the Michigan and Bryce Underwood, especially with the NIL, that much money. I think it was Blaine who said it. It does reek of desperation, and I think it unfortunately is a way of distracting us from. Quite frankly, it has been a disaster of a year. And what embarrasses me is that it's desperation, and we won the damn title last year. What are we doing?
It just feels like y'all showed up way too overdressed to the party.
Yeah, well, it's just like my thing is what would piss me off the most is y'all were as hot as Michigan's ever been at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was ever a time to just go handpick somebody out of the portal, well, it's not like you couldn't have called somebody to ask for money. Were they going to tell you no? You know what I'm saying? It's just like becoming the president. Now everybody answers the call and everybody says yes, right? So that I think is where Michigan fans should probably be the most pissed off. Is it not that you're not going to be hot in this cycle, right? People still know you won the Natty 2 years ago after whoever wins it this year, but you were you were Hansel at the Male Model Awards hot. I mean, it was, just the
Michael, let me ask you two questions here. One, what if this amount of money gets this kid to flip and he does have what we called earlier the Cam Newton impact? Basically, he wins a national championship in his tenure because he came to Michigan the way that J.J. McCarthy did. What happens if that, do you stand by the embarrassing statement then?
Well, if that was a guarantee, then obviously not. But then again, we don't know. And like one of y'all, I think Jake said, if you're offering him that much money, then you're basically saying you're going to start day one, regardless of how you do during spring camp, fall camp, all that stuff, because you still have to go through that process and prove you're worth that. So yeah, guaranteed. If it was a guaranteed outcome, then yes, I would rescind that statement.
Okay, so my second question then, as a Michigan fan, because this is what I was saying to the guys earlier, does this get you excited as a fan of Michigan, even if the kid doesn't come, because you know that Michigan is willing to participate in a big way in the NIL spending game?
So in that aspect, it should excite me. And it's the world we live in now with NIL, and I think it's great that we're willing to really put up the big bag, because Michigan is a big school. They're capable of that with all the alumni, with Dave Portnoy especially. They're capable of it. Yeah, it does excite me. But again, that much money, I would definitely spread that out to, address other issues we have. Here's the thing. Go ahead. Let me get this real quick. Unfortunately for me, and this season has proved it, all of that is for naught, because the coaching staff right now at Michigan, and I hate to say it because I like what Moore did for us last year, this staff is not doing it. I don't know how short of a leash Moore should be on, but it needs to be short. and the coordinators that we have both got to go because, unfortunately, especially, how do you not call a timeout when the clock's running, when you have a chance to stop Indiana? That's basic coaching 101. So I know I call about NIL, but again, it's all for naught if the coaching staff is not as good as we need it to be.
Sure.
Yeah. Great call, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Before we get to the next caller, I want to say this. What happens now, though, if Bryce Underwood doesn't go to Michigan? And Michigan's like, well, damn it, we got to go get a quarterback out of the portal. And I'm a big-time quarterback at a school, and Michigan calls me.
And they offer $6 million?
And they offer me $5 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you just offered this 18-year-old $10.5 million. I'm not coming for anything less. I'm a proven commodity at this level. So I know they probably didn't want that to get out, but now that it's out, that's what I'm talking about, like setting the market. Like, did you just overextend yourself to everyone who you would want now if you don't get this?
That's a great point. And then I think Michael brought up a great point, too, when it comes to the coaching. If you have $10.5 million to pay this kid over 4 years, where was the couple extra million when you needed to lock Jim Harbaugh down to keep him from going to the NFL? Now, maybe there was no amount of money. Maybe he just wanted to go to the NFL and win a Super Bowl. But the way that it was presented to us, at least, was the contract is, wavering back and forth, and they're not locking him in. Lock that guy in, and then he can get any number of quarterbacks.
Or hey, Colson Loveland, you want $8 million because he's a junior, right? Because is Colson a junior? Hey, Colson, you're projected second, third tight end to go. That's going to be into the first round, early second. What if we offered you that money to stay for another year and then you go to the NFL?
No, I just think about Michigan with like a Diego Pavia. You don't have to give him everything.
We'll take him.
You can give him 2 Big Macs.
Hey, look, I heard Peyton Thorne,
and he'll go.
Interested in going back to the
and he'll go.
I mean, at that point, I got an extra year of eligibility.
Yeah, you would want money. Peyton Thorne would have to pay you money for Peyton Thorne.
All right, let's go to Thad in Kansas. Thad, what's up?
Hey, boys, how's it going?
Thad,
what's up?
Hey, so let's talk scenarios for Oklahoma to make the playoffs. Just kidding.
I was about to say, God sends a flood.
So I actually was calling because I'm in a bit of a conundrum, fellas. Saturday, one of my really good buddies, he's getting married, and I need an update. Blaine, on the petition for when we're going to get that thing filed to start deporting people that are having weddings during.
Yeah, look, it's
Tom Homan did say threats to society.
Yeah, it's moving through the Senate right now. We really want to have our votes on 4-child separation. We've talked about it. But I will say this, all right? I'm going against my own words, all right? Next weekend, my best friend's getting married, and I have to go to it, and it's on
You get to go to it.
Day. Have to go to it.
Get to go to it.
So we're postponing until next season.
Yeah, so
Blaine's a fraud, basically.
So the petition is getting postponed for a couple weeks, and then we're going to get back in it.
Blaine's
it's a break in Congress.
Blaine's the politician that wants to ban prostitution and then gets caught with a
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's what.
Who's surprised by that?
Blaine is the Nancy Pelosi of sports media.
Okay, strike
Do as I say. Hey, listen.
Strike two.
Nobody can go outdoors during COVID except me to get my hair changed.
I'm not inside trading. That's not
All of this reminds me that not only did I get married during the fall, but this Saturday is my 5th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Love you, Darby.
And she's still way better looking than you.
I'm stoked to go to my boy's wedding.
Let's keep that up. Let's keep that going.
Well,
thanks,
it's tough,
Thad.
dude. The life we live.
Thanks, Thad. Have fun, man.
Yeah.
Embrace it. All right, last caller of the day. Kirk up in Canada.
What's up,
what's
Kirky?
going on, buddy?
Hey, guys. Got a live stream idea for you guys for this Sunday.
Okay.
It's the Grey Cup. The Dwarf Football League is having their Super Bowl this weekend.
Look, I'll tell you what.
We actually got an idea for a dwarf football league.
We do. Kirk's just a plant to push hockey stuff. He's a plant from the NHL to hear.
Well, the Grey Cup's not hockey. Grey Cup's football.
Oh, I thought you said the hockey cup. You said Grey Cup?
He said Grey Cup.
Okay.
Canadian Football League.
Okay.
Yeah. Who do you like? Who do you like in that game, Kirk?
Oh, I grew up, my father had tickets, season tickets to the Hamilton Ticats, so you cannot cheer for the Toronto
We need to
Argonauts
go
if you
up
grew
to a
in
Canadian football. I've never been to Canada. I've never been to Canada.
me too.
I mean, I really kind of don't want to go, but
You're
I
not
wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
I like the ketchup chips. They're pretty good.
Pretty
You
fire.
remember
I'll give you
that?
that.
I remember
yeah,
those,
Kirk,
yeah.
you sent out. Let's get some more ketchup chips.
We need
It's
some
about
more
time.
ketchup chips. But you know what, kid? If I got ketchup chips, I don't want Lay's ketchup chips. I don't want Walmart's ketchup chips. I want some hey, Hey, I'm from Canada. These are like the local ketchup chips. Hey.
Nice try, man. E for effort.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, that was a great
I can't
effort.
do a Canadian. Oh, hell, it's a moose.
Someone clip that.
I don't know.
that,
That's my
please.
best impression, Kirk.
Please
That's all I can do.
clip that.
That was, I don't even know what to say.
Hey, how's your health, buddy? You good?
Yeah, the heart was ticking a little weird yesterday, but seems to be good today. If you're going to make a bet on the Grey Cup, I highly recommend the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're heavy favorites, but you never know. That's what
You imagine, like, you want to talk about panicking? What is a blue bomber?
What if you're just walking? If you hear it, you're already dead.
Yeah, if
You
you're
have
like
to
walking to the grocery store and you're like, oh no,
If you have
it's
to
a
ask,
bomber
brother.
and it's blue. Oh my God.
Not fun.
Appreciate it, Kurt.
Definitely.
Appreciate
Thank
it,
you,
Kirky.
Kirk. Oh, great calls today. A lot of fun, a lot of emotions. All right, let's get to bets tonight. Hey, David, there's an NFL game on tonight. If you want.
I don't know what's more embarrassing. The fact that I took NFL bets yesterday or that you guys sat here and let me do it.
Well, it's
I'm sure you
I
had
love
a-
you. But still, that's not my favorite cone bets. My favorite cone bets that he ever did was the tennis bets that take 7 years for them to
Those,
play.
I'm
No, and you were right to bet it at the
it
time.
was so
but,
bad
like, it takes a
yesterday.
day
I don't
and a
know what
half.
the problem was yesterday. Maybe it's just one of those things. I'm sitting at my place at 7 o'clock because the game's on Prime.
It felt like a Thursday.
And I'm pulling up. It's like 7:20. I'm like, what is going on? Is something wrong?
You did the same thing?
Yeah, I did
You know
the
what
same
happened
thing.
with me was before the show, I set my fantasy team.
That'll
to
do
make
it.
sure that they were in line. And I'm like, well, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and take
That'll do it.
I'm gonna
That'll
take
do it.
Washington.
And I hope it hits.
Yeah, well.
Tonight, here's what I'm rocking and rolling with. Give me Jaden Daniels and the Redskins. Yeah, you heard me right. Change the name back and change the Guardians back to the Indians. I wish they were called the Washington Caucasians. That'd be pretty dope, but they're not. So give me the Redskins +4. That's at -108. Then I like the over tonight, guys. I don't know why money's on the under. We'll see. It'll probably end up being 10-7. But give me the Redskins Eagles over 49.5. Jalen Hurts going to score a touchdown.
All right, well, since this game didn't get played yesterday, I'm just going to go ahead and rock with the same bets. But it's not all bad news. I got an extra half point because yesterday Washington was +3.5. Now I'm getting Washington +4, -108, and then I'm going to stick with the over as well. You got the over?
Yes.
Bet buds, over 48.5, -112.
Okay, I love it. Bring my bets up. All right, this is big. This is a big week for me. Fantasy league right now, I'm 5-4. I've outscored everybody by 120.
I don't want to hear excuses. You're 5-4.
120 points.
You are what your record
and I
says.
still might not make the playoffs.
Tackle somebody.
I am playing against Jalen Hurts. I have Dallas Goedert. So if you're a smart man, the way women, whatever, the way it's been going this year, smart bet would go bet Jalen Hurts first touchdown. But this is what I'm going to roll with. Give me Saquon Barkley, 2+ touchdowns. That's going off at +290. I'm going to go ahead and get Washington a little bit down. It's +3.5. That's going off at -102. I do not want to see the tush push for 4 quarters.
Yeah, well, you're going to see it. All right, here's what Ace has got. He's going to go A.J. Brown anytime touchdown at +120. Then I love this bet. If you're going to bet on college football, buying down the 14.5 to 13.5 for East Carolina to get the Pirates at -13.5. That's at -134. Tulsa struggles, man. Struggle bus for sure.
All right, I love it. Having a little bit of problem today with this iPad, but don't worry, Crain can fix it and still get to these donations. Go to a donation from Mr. Tafosi. Appreciate a $5 donation. I have Oregon versus Colorado in RD2 of the college football playoff. I think it would do bigger numbers than the Natty. By the way, my model would have Oregon -5.5 on a neutral field. Not bad. Let's go to a $5 donation from Natan Alamalo. What's up, man? What's up, boys? Finally joining for the first live in a long time. Got to give some love to my Georgia Tech squad.
Yeah.
Santucci, Key, and Faulkner are the hope of the fans.
Look, Santucci, that 425, keeping you guys alive.
Absolutely. Let's go to a $5 donation from Cole. Thank you, Cole. Y'all said you can't fault Texas for having opponents that have bad records. They only play their schedule and win. What about UCF in 2017 and 2018?
Have to go back and look at the record. That's just a different playoff format. It's hard to compare the two. The point about Texas was you can't, or at least mine, you can't fault them for the teams not being great that were on their schedule that were supposed to be before, but you don't give them extra love because of it. I think you just play it right down the center. It's just where we are right now. That team that you beat doesn't look as good as when you beat them, but I don't think you overdo it or you underdo it. I just think you treat it how it is when it's compared to other teams.
Let's go to a $5 donation from the Jolly Man. Appreciate it. He says Bryce Underwood will definitely be a bust. Pay him $10.5 million and watch him fall apart.
We'll see. I mean, again, I don't fault the kid that he got offered that money. I'm happy for him. If it was me, guess what? Why am I just run 18 miles to Michigan's Fieldhouse to commit?
Run. I'm never running again.
That's actually true.
Let's go to $2 donation from Jake Lofton. Appreciate it, Jake. Nothing under that, but we'll go back and I'll look for it. $2 donation from a new handle that I enjoy. Says Jake has a lisp. Says how is
you
this?
Have a lisp?
Says how is this for an original handle, Jake?
In real time, handles getting made up.
Yeah. How about I take a handle of Jack and
$10 donation from TNL. Appreciate it. The Michigan Underwood saga has already cost Michigan a hard commit and 2-time Florida Gatorade Player of the Year, Carter Smith, who got fed up and then decommitted.
That's another aspect of this. Lost a quarterback commit.
Yeah. You better. Woo.
Let's go to a $5 donation from the MM2. What's up, man? Says, guys, right now, after LSU's loss, where does Brian Kelly go from here? The defense have gotten progressively worse this year, and Nussmeier's underperforming. I don't know if I can take it anymore.
It's personnel. That's the thing. Like, scheme matters. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it comes down to personnel, and that's where LSU has struggled. It's with personnel. Bama didn't line up and reinvent the wheel against you guys. They lined up and ran Q power and Q counter and zone read down your throat. That was just getting beat at birth. That's what that was, and that's shocking to say for LSU. So where do they go from here? Get better players, recruit better, develop better, which, I never thought something I would say at LSU, but it is. It's not scheme. Blake Baker knows how to call defense. You guys don't have the good enough personnel right now.
Let's go to $2 donation from Tim. Appreciate it, Tim. Says, the SEC is mid. I am enjoying this season so much. Big Ten guy.
So is the theory, David, that if a conference beats up on each other, and I'm not saying the SEC is the best it's been, that if a conference has a bunch of teams that beat up on each other, that conference is bad?
No, the theory is if your favorite team is one of the teams that's in that conference.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's what it is. Nailed it.
$2 donation from Matt Walsh's Alien. What's up, dude? He says, do y'all bet and not sweat? Blaine, you almost won up to $26,000 this year. Buddy, I sweat every bet I make.
Yeah, that's why we do it, because it's like competition. I can't play anymore. So look, last night, your boy hit 18 out of 20 legs and another one.
You had another 20-legger?
Dude, Bucknell.
Hey, relax. Bucknell can throw
more
him.
like Sucknell.
Bucknell can absolutely throw him. Let's go to a $5 donation from Alan. Appreciate it, Alan. Are you putting next week's lunch money on Tyson or Paul?
I don't know.
Do I put money on the 60-year-old? Like, if I'm just going to walk around to hospices and start punching old people? Like, I don't know. I'm not betting on this because I don't trust boxing, number one, to bet on. At least on football, if you're going to rig it, you're a genius because it's blatantly obvious and it's really hard to do.
Let's go to $2 donation from The Gambler. He says, $10 million is crazy work. He better be #MillGoat.
Yeah, you better, not only should you play good, you got to boost the community's economy by 3%.
Yeah.
So $2 donation from Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. He says, first time watching this show, guys, really enjoy it. You have my sub. Lindsay, really appreciate it. Last donation of the day, the $2 donation from the Serb, Jake Crain versus Jake Paul. Boxing fight, we all want it.
You got to give me some time to try.
Yeah, we got to bulk him up a bit.
Yeah, you got to give me some
You're
time.
You're little and scrawny.
No, I'll catch you one time, put your ass to sleep. The problem is, I don't know, I've never,
Bought anybody?
Well, never bought. This is my problem. I have fought people. I've fought your
Hey, don't.
Yeah, but I don't never fought with rules.
Yeah. Street fight.
Yeah, I can't.
Exact sound.
Yeah, I can't bring a gun.
Butch Cassidy.
Yeah, it's just Jake beat Jake Paul in the first round.
Let's get to
shot him right in the leg.
Let's get to this poll. If you donated today, guys, thank you so much. Who wins the fight? Jake Paul or Mike Tyson?
Oh, I don't know, man. Tyson, just for nostalgia, 51%.
They said Jake Paul 64%.
Mike Tyson 80%.
Woo, Tyson fans
Jake
in there.
Paul 20%.
God, I hope you guys are right. All right, we appreciate you. Shout out Good Ranchers. Shout out Responsible Man. Great calls today. Got a great show for you tomorrow. And an awesome guest picker. You're going to love it. And like the chances, Bryce Underwood being unhappy about getting offered almost $11 million. I'm going.
Nice. Well played, sir.
Yeah, Jake Paul catch his hands. So.
Great show, guys. We're going to